So it's officially April, which means that we are due for a good old-fashioned quarterly reset. So I recently did a video called Building My Dream Life, and this is sort of a follow-up to that. It's just gonna be a really simple walking you through my thought process and my plans for the next quarter. So let's go into it, shall we? I used to make this process much more complicated than it needed to be. Like, I would spend days, if not an entire week, dedicated to just planning out each quarter. But I've been trying to be more mindful about that. One thing that actually does help me, one second, is to set like a physical timer. I really like this one because it actually has color blocking to show you how much time you have left. Great if you have ADHD like I do, or just time blindness in general. And the other thing I have found really helpful lately is just starting to write my reviews with like pen and paper. I used to do journal prompts in Notion or Capacities, which I think can be great for cataloging and storing data, but I do think that when you start to write things by hand, I'm able to better draw connections more easily and like find patterns that I may have otherwise missed if I was trying to retrofit my thoughts into an app. So I'll share with you guys what I wrote. I don't know if you can see. I always like to start with reflecting on the past few months before I dive into planning. Only because if you're someone who gets really excited over fresh starts and resets, like I do, then it can definitely be easy to over-index on prioritizing new ideas or projects you've been putting off without really evaluating why you haven't gotten to them yet. So my 3 main prompts for reflecting on Q1. Number 1, where did my time and energy go, and was it worth it? Number 2, what felt natural and easy? What felt forced or draining? Number 3, where did my actions not match what I said I want? So for me, I found my biggest time investments were number 1, creating content. That was probably the biggest one by far. Even when I wasn't doing it, I was constantly thinking about it. And that's not a bad thing, because my whole goal this year was getting back to YouTube, and I've been pretty consistent with that. So I think focusing on that was definitely the right place to pour a lot of my energy. Number 2 was showing up for my community. So that includes my family, my friends, everyone else I surround myself with. Last year and even the beginning of this year has been pretty difficult for both Albie and I's families. We are both people who believe that family always comes first, even when it's complicated. And then also making time and space for friends. If someone asked me to be somewhere, I would be there. Unless I had a genuine excuse, I would not let myself flake, would not let myself just give in to like gremlin sloth mode and stay housebound for weeks at a time. And then the third thing, just kind of in like life planning, introspection, meta-analysis of my life. I went back to therapy in November, and it's been really good, but also when I'm in therapy, it usually means that I have to think about and process and be reminded of things that are very heavy on a weekly basis. So there was a lot of journaling, embarrassingly, a lot of back and forth with ChatGPT to try and process my feelings, which has actually been very helpful. Okay, I shouldn't be embarrassed by that. And the last thing I spent a lot of time on was downtime and recovery. I very rarely push my limits. You know, I didn't force myself to work or to do things or to show up if I really didn't feel like it. On one hand, I think that's a good thing, protecting your nervous system. I'm a highly anxious person. I definitely deal with a lot of mental health issues. This has been good for me to avoid going back into like a burnout season of life. At the same time, I do think I could have done more, and I want to build more structure and more discipline into my schedule now that I feel a little more grounded in my work and my life and, you know, my relationships. So I think that's going to be something that I will focus more on in Q2. And in terms of what was energizing for me, a lot of this was kind of already touched on in the first question. Being out in the world, novelty and play, exploring new places in SF. I think I needed like a little more dopamine in my life after having a very heavy first half of the quarter. And then also completing loops, old projects, hitting publish, focusing on output instead of planning and thinking so much. I almost never regret that, even if it means that I have to ship something maybe like 80% good enough. And then in terms of what was draining, there were a couple things that stood out to me. I used to think that I really liked freedom, and I've optimized my life for freedom up until this point, but it makes it easier for scope creep to become a problem because you have this uncapped time for working on projects, for researching, for planning, for getting something out the door. And then by the time you do, you can start to like drag and lose momentum. And that really just pulls a spark out of whatever it is you're working on in the first place. Momo, it's okay. It's just our neighbor. Come here. It's okay. You protected us. You did a good job. It's okay. You can relax now. Hi, Momo. You want to say hi? He's so happy. Okay, so moving on to our actual planning now for Q2. I tried to stay away from getting too granular here. I really want to just focus on the major shifts that were going to move the needle the most. So based on my reflections from earlier, number one, I'm setting a baseline content format and I am sticking to it, okay? You heard it here. Basically all that means is that I have accepted that vlogs are the simplest, most enjoyable type of video for me to make. So that will be my default moving forward unless something else speaks to me, like, you know, sitting down and chatting with you guys one week, maybe doing a tutorial. I'll still do that kind of stuff, but I want to have something that I can fall back on without having to overthink, and again, reduce decision fatigue. And number two is to continue separating my admin and planning from my output. I find that sometimes I start to blend these together and then I'm constantly kind of like going back and forth and getting distracted by doing emails and texts and then like working on a video for a little bit, then going back and order groceries, or like this happens. I have been much better about this lately, but there's always room for improvement. And the third thing I really want to focus on is faster decisions and closing loops more quickly. I don't know why making decisions has always been so hard for me, especially just with day-to-day things like what to eat, what to text back to my friend who asked me for when I'm going to be available. My brain just naturally wants to optimize everything, and so this leads to a lot of like various open loops humming around in my head. But moving forward, I really want to train myself to act without total certainty and to be willing to accept that mistakes are going to be made, things are going to be less than perfect, and that's okay. Now, how I'm actually implementing all of this, a lot of the concrete changes I'm going to be making are really just a matter of adding it to my calendar. So I'll try to put something here that you can see as reference. So I updated my weekly time blocking to further group my days by themes. So like admin days, editing days. Hopefully this will help my attention be less scattered. And the other big change I made was to my work schedule so that I could better account for low days and low weeks, because I think before my schedule was more optimized for like the best case scenario if I was feeling motivated and there were no crises, which I don't think that's ever happened in my entire life. So I don't know why I keep deluding myself into thinking that that will happen. So obviously all of this stuff gets adjusted as the week goes on, and a lot of the days I'm probably gonna go over what I've allotted. At least it's better to have that extra time and flexibility versus having to fight for more space where there isn't any. Okay, I just realized that a lot of what I've said is like quite heady, and I think that's just because my focus lately has been much more around mindset, kind of building this life of flow and ease that, again, I talked about in that last video about like building my dream life. Sometimes for these reviews, I will add in new habits to my habit tracker or spin up a new project document for something I've been putting off. That is to say, I realized I didn't include anything that was like particularly fun. There are definitely like a lot of hobbies and projects and trips I want to take that are all going to be on like my side quest list. I'll put some of the stuff here that I'm planning on or hoping for. Again, I didn't want to go too far into that. I'm very much excited for the next few months in ways that do not relate to how my calendar looks. All right, well, I hope this was helpful. I do think sometimes it's nice to just sit down and hash this stuff out one-on-one. I have a bunch of vlogs in the editing queue that I'm excited to share with you all. I've really been enjoying the changing of the seasons this year more than I usually do, and it's been really fun documenting that, so stay tuned. Anyway, I hope 2026 is treating you well so far. I'm wishing you the absolute best for spring, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.